This is the Money Talks podcast. Subscribe now on iTunes. Listen to Michael Campbell and Money Talks live on the Chorus Radio Network, Saturday mornings on CKNW Vancouver, AM 770 Calgary, Shed 630 in Edmonton, and live on the Radio Player app.
My head, with an aching in my heart, in my pockets full of sand. I'm a long way.
You're listening to Money Talks. My name is Michael Campbell. Money Talks is brought to you by Solera Club. Solera Club is a royalty-based investment, and you should know that means you get paid first. You're first in line. There are no fees attached to it, and it is in the tech sector. For more information, go to soleraclub.com. I hope you recognize that as In the Early Morning Rain by Canadian music icon Gordon Lightfoot. I'm celebrating him this week because he had his 79th birthday, I believe, yesterday on Friday. He made more than 200 recordings, a huge influence in folk music through the 60s and 70s. And I'm going to get more from that music icon. But first, let's start with a quote by P.J. O'Rourke. The principal feature of the progressive left is sanctimoniousness. By loudly denouncing all bad things, war and hunger and date rape, progressives testify to their own terrific goodness. More important, they promote themselves to membership in a self-selecting elite of those who care deeply about such things. It's a kind of natural aristocracy, and the wonderful thing about this aristocracy is that you don't have to be brave, smart, strong, or even lucky to join it. You just have to call yourself a progressive. I say amen to that. That quote came to mind after hearing those incredibly dismissive remarks of Governor General Julie Payette about 2 weeks ago regarding people from all religions who believe that God is the center of creation. Canada is awash with the virtue-signaling, self-satisfied progressives. As Laval economist Stephen Gordon said, if someone figured out how to weaponize smugness, Canada would be the most feared nation on earth. After all, Canada's back. There's so many other examples. I mean, look at Prime Minister Trudeau's declaration regarding holding a referendum on electoral reform. He made this to a group of students at Ottawa U, which in essence he simply said there will be no vote on electoral reform because people couldn't be trusted to vote the right way. One of my personal favorites, the famous statement by Liberal campaign manager at the time, Scott Reid, who said, the big problem with the Conservatives' daycare plan to give parents $1,200 for each preschool child is that they couldn't be trusted not to spend the money on popcorn and beer instead of their own children. I mean, it's not tough to come up, by the way, with tons of examples of that kind of elitism of the self-described progressives. Why? Because they believe in their own moral superiority. For a progressive, there's only two sides to a question, their side and the wrong side. There are no valid opposing views. So why bother to listen to them, which is why they work so hard to squelch opposing views. Hillary Clinton's description of people who didn't support her as deplorable, I think, said it all. It's the same attitude that was front and center in Governor General Payette's speech. Besides the fact that I find these people obnoxious, and I do, why am I pointing this out? Well, there's two big reasons, because that attitude is having a significant political, economic, and financial impact. First off, what these people don't seem to understand, even when it's pointed out to them, is that they turn a hell of a lot of people off with their self-righteousness and arrogance. And it's at the heart of much of the political upheaval that's been in evidence in the Western world. I mean, Brexit was in large part a reaction to the arrogance of the political elite in the European Union, especially when it came to unlimited access for refugees. There was a backlash. While Democrats would never agree, Donald Trump's election was the reaction to the arrogance of both President Obama and Hillary Clinton. President Trump was simply the vehicle for expressing that anger. The Five-Star Movement's win in Rome elections in Italy, rise of the Freedom Party in Austria, those are other examples of the backlash toward the Euro elites in Brussels. What's noteworthy is that the progressive elites never saw any of those changes coming. I mean, we had a ringside seat to see how the progressives completely missed the Donald Trump train. Well-known New York Times columnist David Brooks is one of the few in the media who understood why self-described progressives, including himself, by the way, failed to see the election of Donald Trump. As he put it, in a nutshell, they missed it because they don't know any Trump supporters. They live in an intellectual, self-reinforcing bubble which aggressively protects against opposing views. You know, people out in Vancouver will recognize this from the Vancouver transit referendum. I mean, it was incredible. They had this yes side that included members from every political group, politicians, organized labor, board of trade. They never saw the opposition coming for the straightforward reason they surrounded themselves with like-minded people. Couldn't imagine, let alone anticipate the backlash. And they got defeated. After all, who would question them? They're always right. Well, we just witnessed the same phenomenon with the small business tax changes proposed by the Liberal government. Do you think they would have gone through with that if they saw the backlash coming? I think it was predictable. But both the Prime Minister, the Finance Minister, and the federal Liberals never saw it coming. The degree to which they were out of touch was breathtaking. But then again, it's a good bet they don't know, and they certainly didn't solicit the opinions of anyone who did not agree. I bet they don't even know anyone who owns a small business or runs a family farm or has a medical practice. There's that level of isolation, which is founded on a fundamental disregard for opposing views, is a recipe for bad policy. And by the way, it's a recipe for bad investment decisions. See, unlike the progressive left, I personally want to be challenged. It's the best way to have weak thinking exposed. Someone may bring to my attention some new research or data or my faulty logic that I'm aware of. And in the investment business, you lose money when you're wrong. Having someone challenge your views is a major component of sound risk management. But that's clearly not the case in the modern progressive circles. And it's costing them. It's producing this political change you're seeing. It's producing some of the economic changes you're seeing, and it's financially dangerous. The prevailing attitude to denigrate opposing views instead of inviting them is dangerous. It's blatantly dangerous. And it shows the limitations of that approach. Money Talks is brought to you by Solera Club. For more information, go to soleraclub.com. Hey, I got some great stuff. You saw that Mona Lisa painting sold for $405 million plus all the fees and all the things that went to it and make the grand total $450 million US. Well, that's an interesting exchange of paper money for a hard asset. Well, we're going to talk more about that. Martin Mirandill's going to join me. This is the guy that the gold industry talks to about where gold's going. That's what gold has been historically, a store of value. We'll find out from Martin if he thinks gold's time is coming soon. I'll take a break. I'll come back. Michael Levy's here. Plus, wait till you hear this. I got a shocking stat that, in this case, I defy anyone not to be absolutely blown away by it. It's in education. To me, it's more evidence of one of the biggest problems I see, but I'm telling you, I bet every one of us, everyone, you're listening, you're going to be blown away by it. Stay with us right here on the Money Talks Network.
Number 9, Dick 707 said to go, and I'm stuck here in the grass with a pain that ever grows. Now the liquor tasted good. You could read my mind, love, what a tale my thoughts could tell. Just like an old-time movie about a ghost from...
That's Gordon Lightfoot. If you could read my mind, he has had an incredible career. It spanned 5 decades. As I said, 200 recordings. I think it's safe to say, he helped define the folk pop sound that we saw in the 60s and 70s. But I'm looking at Bob Dylan, Dan Fogelberg, Jimmy Buffett, Jim Croce, all recorded Gordon Lightfoot songs. And he is absolutely a Canadian music legend. We'll feature his music as he had his 79th birthday on Friday. Still performing, I might add. Great to see. Michael Levy joins me on the line right now. Hey, Mike, now you promised me a story. I know you said to me, hey, Mike, you love entrepreneurs. You like people who think out of the box. You said, well, I got a story for you, so let's have it.
Well, let's give it a bit of background, Mike. The Royal Canadian Mint, as does the U.S. Mint, and other mints throughout the world have bullion programs. That is, you can buy the gold maple leaf, you can buy the silver maple leaf, you can buy bars. And the value is based on the underlying value of the bullion. In other words, a 1-ounce maple leaf has got 1 ounce of gold, and you pay a small premium for it. They also run numismatic programs. That's for the collectors. And they make coins, both gold and silver, in pristine condition. They put a nominal face value on them, so they're legal tender in Canada. So they might make a $20 coin, and that might be a special commemorative coin for some event. And they will put a $20 face value on it, but they'll sell it for $75 or $100, trying to get the collector to buy them because they're limited editions and they're struck well, they have a nice case. Well, in the case of the Royal Canadian Mint, in order to lure the numismatic customers, and has been a practice for the U.S. Mint also, is they will issue some of the coins at their actual face value. So instead of getting $100 for a $20 coin, they will allow people to buy them for $20 in a limited amount, knowing that they are legal tender, and by the way, you could take them into the bank and get a $20 bill for them. Well, the Royal Canadian Mint started a program like that in 2012 and offered some of their coins at face value and not charge the premium for them. And they tried to limit what would be sold at face value. They didn't want a huge amount out there, particularly to one or two individuals. So they put a limit on how many you could buy per household, but they didn't really oversee that limit as well as they could have to start with. And along comes your namesake, Avery Campbell, and boy, does he ever have a way to profit from buying coins at face value, using his credit card to
okay,
do
let me
so.
hold you. Let me hold you that for a sec, Mike. Let me just hold you that. I want to make sure everybody's up to date here. So, just collectors, they buy these, as you say, these coins that they put out in limited, usually have to pay a premium for that. But so the Canadian Mint had a program to try and encourage people to get interested in this stuff. So instead of saying, here's your $20 silver coin, normally we sell it for $75, but for a limited time and a limited amount, you can get it for the $20. So here's this kid.
Absolutely.
Avery Campbell comes along, and what does he do?
Well, he buys, first of all, he buys online because you can do that, and he buys as many coins as he can buy. But there are household limits, so when they start to limit, he changes email addresses, and he keeps buying these coins. So he buys them on his credit cards at face value. He takes the coins then to the bank, cashes them in, and accumulates air miles or airline points on his credit card as he does it. He is not out of pocket any money. Buys them on his credit card, gets the points, and then he takes the coins back to the bank, gets the money, and pays off his credit card.
So, as you say, they weren't really policing the amount he could buy, at least at first. So he takes all of these coins, and let's just use the 21 for an example, because they had $100 coins too. But let's use the 20 for example. Goes and buys them off the credit card, gets all those credit card points, whether it's air miles or whatever else they're doing, in their royalty rewards program, gets the coins, pays off the credit card, and presto, we might have a free trip to London, for example, and he didn't have to do anything.
He didn't have to do anything, but the Mint then has to pay the bank for the coins, has to pay the bank a service charge for handling them of 2%, and has to pay the FedEx charges for the bank to get the coins back to the Mint. So the Mint is out of pocket. Now, Campbell did this until he could not get them at home anymore, so he went to the Royal Canadian Mint store in Ottawa. They had one in Vancouver too, by the way. He'd go after school and buy shopping bags full of coins. He would take the shopping bags full of coins, take them back to the bank, get the money, and get the points. And when all was said and done, he was able to take exotic trips, first class or business class airfare, to many destinations in the world without taking a dollar out of his pocket.
I'm filing that under why didn't I think of it? But very quickly, I think I'd heard a similar deal happening in the States, too.
It was, and it's the same thing. This is not the Royal Canadian Mint was wrong or the U.S. Mint was wrong. It's
no.
To promote products. It just got out of hand.
Yeah.
And in the States, they did a presidential coin in 2009, and this one person, Brad Wilson, caught on to the same way Avery Campbell did. He bought 3 million $1 presidential coins on his credit card, did the same thing in exchanging them, cost him nothing, and he ended up with 4 million American airline points.
Oh my gosh. And that is, as I say, how come I'm not thinking out of the box like that? Well, I'm going to tell you, now you're going to have everybody leaving, the show today and just going and searching out other opportunities there. But I love the idea of somebody thinking out of the box. As I say, I think, by the way, it's a great program by the Canadian Mint to try and get people interested by, having these coins, these limited edition coins, selling at face value for a while. But as you say, they didn't kind of police one side of it. They didn't see this coming, that someone would sort of do it in an unlimited amount. But, yeah, it's a great story, Mike. Thanks.
You're welcome. And by the way, Avery Campbell says he's got another deal, not with the Mint or anybody else, but he's found, and he's going to start on that one, but he won't tell anybody what it is.
Oh, there you go. Oh, that's a teaser. Mike Levy, you go out and have a great weekend.
You too, Mike. Thanks.
Stay with us. I got the next edition of Instant Wisdom. Now, this is only good for people who like to actually hear intelligent people. No, it's not me. Don't worry. I've got one for you coming up, so stay with us.
If I could read your mind, love, what a tale your thoughts could tell. Just like a paperback novel. The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down of the big lake they call Gitchagumi.
I'm going to take a break. Martin Mirabel coming back. I've got a quote of the week, and wait till you hear my shocking stat. Stay with us.